Good evening, Kamalika on behalf of Artscape. As many of you who are being a part of our conversations know, that we are holding these twice a week just to create a platform for sharing, a platform for uh, helping each other, like lending a helping hand to each other, so that all of us who are in this locked down state, we have an opportunity to understand what others are going through, how we can help each other, and basically just handhold each other and help everyone to just pass through and go through this phase. And I take immense pleasure in welcoming this evening Sonia Makwani. I just going to invite her into this chat. It's absolutely a pleasure to have Sonia joining this chat with us. Hi, Sonia.
Hi. Hi, Kamalika. How are you?
I am good, and thank you so much, Sonia. But before we continue with this conversation, I want to introduce you to our group of friends who are part of this conversation. I want to tell all of you that she's Sonia Makwani. I know her. I have met her as the founder of Touching Lives. But Sonia, apart from her organization, she also is a clinical psychologist. She's a trained hypnotherapist. She is an author, a filmmaker, and a social artist. This last bit I love, Sonia. It's so beautiful. A social artist. Sonia, as I was just, while I was waiting for you to come in, what I was generally saying that you're aware what Artscape does, but for others who don't know, we're an organization, we work with expressive arts therapy, which is music, movement, drama, art, and we help in the space of emotional management. So we thought that apart from whatever work that we have been doing over the last 4 years, we thought this lockdown has been an unprecedented experience that none of us know how to actually navigate through it. And I felt that maybe, having conversations with like-minded people and opening it up on an open platform, on a common platform, I felt might be helpful in giving others strength and also, hand holding everybody on an emotional level.
Right.
So that's the whole purpose of this conversation. And Sonia, thank you for joining. And, I know that you're going to contribute a lot in this conversation. So to begin with, Sonia, how have the last 2 months been for you? As in, what are your first thoughts about the lockdown and when it happened?
Okay, so thank you first of all, Kamalika, for inviting me. And your question leads me to something that you said that, we are all right now trying to navigate, what is happening into this era of uncertainty. So when this happened, of course, there are moments where you switch from, fear to faith. And again, from faith to fear, there is this constant anxiety, that comes in when you hear news of people, suffering from this issue, and, people dying, and then there are no places for them, in the hospital. So every day we are bombarded with the news. And while this started to happen, uh, it it was important to understand that we were all in this together, and I have understood that there is chaos that leads to something which is more creative, right? So I had to navigate myself during that time. Okay, being a therapist myself, I was getting a lot of clients, of how to deal with the situation when I myself was dealing with trying to understand, what's going around, and I went back to my basic, and this is not the first time that as human beings we have felt anxious, that we've felt trauma, that we've felt fearful. Fear and anxiousness, has been a part. We are all aware about it. We have all experienced it in our own ways. And so I went back to my basic, as in, what is it that I used to do when I feel anxious, or what is it that helped me during my chaotic time. And there are few things that helps me. So first is that how I help myself was to really come to a state of neutralization, then to come out of the problem. So rather than pushing myself that this is something, this is the suffering that is going to happen at the bigger level, and I don't want to look at it, this is something that I don't want to face, which usually happens. I realize that I have to bring myself to a state of neutral path. And obviously I did my own practices, and from understanding that chaos always also leads to creativity, doing my own meditation, understanding that it is important to give time and space, for whatever is culminating. And over a period of time, there's this set of network, of therapists and healers and friends who kind of support each other. So really like reaching out to them and telling, oh, this is what I am going through. Can we do some process on, myself? So I went through a series of, processes and healing therapy myself to come to the level of, neutrality. At the same time, I'm not saying that this has kind of, like you do it once and then it's over. It's like a constant thing, because every day you wake up into the state of uncertainty. And then there are these moments, okay? And I am always reminded of one story about this little girl who was a character of a very thick novel, okay? And this book was set in like old library, big library. And in that library, so in that city, there was a huge storm, and the whole library, shattered and broke down, and all the books went helter and skelter. And this character of the book, when she woke up from, what was happening, she realized that she was on a page which was floating in the water. Okay. And she wondered, oh my God, which book did I come from? Now there were millions of books, millions of pages scattered around, all torn. And so she thought to herself, okay, now it's time for me to, get back into my history and start looking to who I was and where I came from. So each day she would wake up and she would start, searching herself in the books. She would go, she would like turn around the pages, and, she would not find herself, and she used to get very frustrated. So every single day for many, many months, she did that. And then one fine day she got up and she was like, okay, today is the last day of my search. And if I don't find myself today, I'll kill myself. Okay. So she goes around in the library, and then there's a desk, broken desk on which there's a book and which is half open. And then there is a pencil around, and she goes over the desk and then she looks, the half written book, and the book, half of the pages were like empty. And she picks up the pencil and she then starts writing her own story, So it's almost like we are at the middle of our lives where we have lived certain things, and now the pages are empty. This uncertainty is kind of, it's tough, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to write and recreate our own story. So it's an opportunity for us to ask ourselves who we are. We are coexisting in this world, and we are not living in one dimension. We are living in multiple dimension. And when I say multiple dimension, this multiple dimension is inside us, which I feel is divided in the form of the 7 important chakras. So if we see that our fear and anxiety is based according to these chakras, so the fear and anxiety would come about, oh my God, what about my house? What about my security? So it's basic, like, food, clothing, shelter, which is the root of everything. Then we need to ask ourselves, is my fear connected with these insecurities? And it's not only my insecurity. it's the collective insecurity that we are feeling, and that's the difference. And then the second chakra talks all about your relationship, you know. And so does my fear and anxiety and this trauma is coming from my relationship with my own self and with things around, you know. So our attachment, you know, our fear of death of loved ones, of, you know, what might happen to them, you know, what might happen to me, and if something happens to me, what might happen to them, you know. So in connection with our relationship, understanding that our fear and anxiety could also be traumatic to our solar plexus, that is our willpower. Where in this world do we stand, and how much power do I have to change? Sometimes we feel we are such a little tiny thing, and what can I do with so many things happening around? But at the same time, you also know that you are that person that has the entire universe inside you, and your action can make a lot of changes. Then you come to the heart, you know. When we come to the fear of our heart, it's almost like, oh my God, am I going to die? Is this humanity, is this human species going to extinguish? You know, are we also going to be like dinosaurs, you know, talked about, you know, after certain ages? So it's about what about love? What about compassion? What about our feelings? You know, so we have fear. Our heart is so much filled with fear and anxiety that we don't have space to feel love and compassion. So there's a very beautiful thing that, Trungpa Rinpoche says about bodhicitta, you know, having, enlightening yourself from an broken heart. So he talks about that, you know, we cannot run away from our sufferings. You know, the more we try to run away from there, it will bring us more suffering. The more we don't want pain, the more it will come to us, you know. So he says that when he was a little kid, he was 6 or 8 years old, and, you know, from his terrace, he saw these boys down in the ground bullying a little, puppy. And he felt so bad, but he was 6 years old, he was on the terrace, and he couldn't do anything about the situation. You know, so he said that particular situation has embedded in his mind that it's a situation where I was there, but I couldn't do anything, and I felt helpless. So, but he said this is the only situation where this is the only thing which has helped him to understand his broken heart and bring compassion, you know, in his heart, to bring compassion, asking that why were those boys bullying and troubling those, that little puppy, and what was happening to that little puppy. So he says that our broken heart is a place from which you can actually grow. Then comes our throat chakra, you know, the fear of expressing ourselves. And now is a time when humanity is really confronted with truth. You know, we are really confronted with the law of nature. We are really confronted with our own fears and our own anxiety. Like in Tantra, you know, the more you run away from things, the more it confronts you, you know. And sometimes, it's like if you have fear of something, you work on that fear of something. But then there comes a time when there is no something left and there's only your fear that is left. Pure, raw fear. Then what do you do? You know, and then your communication needs to happen between you and your fear. Then obviously our fears about, you know, our sixth sense, you know, that our intuition, what happened, why am I not being able to be more intuitive? Why this uncertainty feels, you know, makes me more contracted than expanded, you know. So again, we are questioning our own inside, you know. The more now when I talk about the sixth sense, I sense that the actions that we have taken before determines how intuitive our lives can be, you know. So now we are confronted with how much we have listened to ourselves before, that our intuition can help to grow stronger. And then obviously our last is our connection with the divine. You know, we are all scared. Oh my God, you know, what is happening? Where is God? Where is the creator? Where is this force? Where is this intelligence, you know, taking us? So cut to your question short, that, it's like when we talk about what is happening right now, it's not just in a practical spectrum that, this is why this virus has happened, or this is why we are going through this. There is so many dimensions that we live in. And these dimensions I understand through these chakras, and there is this collective set of chakras that we are all in right now. So, yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Sonia. So what I took out from this, what you said, is that firstly, it is important to accept that what is happening within us, and then to try and, channelize it in a positive way. Like you said, that, maybe we've come to, our life has come to a point where we need to rewrite everything afresh.
Right.
So think differently, act differently, imbibe, maybe, learn new skills, imbibe new things, just maybe look at ourselves as an individual differently.
Right.
And
yeah.
Sonia, you spoke that you wanted to share something which you're calling the meditation 2.0.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
Okay. Great. So I'm excited to talk about meditation 2.0 because I'll be talking about it for the first time. It's like making the old story new, and it's about really connecting with the word meditation. So in this particular part, I'm going to share about what meditation is. Of course, we all have our own definition, but what meditation is, what are the premises that I have been following, what are the different forms of meditation, and how we can begin and end the meditation. So this is what I'm going to be sharing with you all, and it's more on the practical tool that we can use every day. So a meditative space or a state is where you bring your presence to awareness, and awareness to your presence. So I'm going to repeat this again. It's where we bring our presence to a state of awareness, and this awareness about our presence. And so this word presence itself means that there is no past and there is no future. However, the thoughts of past and the future always comes when we are meditating. It always flows. And what I have realized is like these thoughts need to flow in present. They are coming to merge in your presence. So long time ago when I had started my journey of meditation, and even now, this is the effective tool that I use, is free flowing meditation, where I just sit and I just let my mind, be open and not even judge whether the thought is coming from past or present, and just let them, flow. The whole idea is to be in the state of presence. Now, the basic premise about, people who are actually starting to meditate, or, who are already in meditation, or it's always like a good revision for yourself, is one, to give yourself permission to make mistakes, because in meditation there are no mistakes. When you're meditating, then if in the meditation the past comes often in your presence, it means that it's kind of signifying and it's kind of signaling you that your past needs more than meditation. It probably needs forgiveness, it probably needs closure, and it needs healing. Okay. So meditation is a space where you allow your past to come in, but you also realize that it needs to be looked at and something more needs to be done. Yeah. Then I have understood that if the future comes when you're constantly thinking about the future, it means that you really need to see something in your present that you need to work on. There's something about the presence that you need to look at. Because when we are constantly thinking about the future, it means there's something about the present which we are not really accepting or not really liking or not really happy about, you know. So I say that the meditation is the first step to really understanding what you need, you know. So free flowing meditation is the first form of meditation, that you just sit and allow these thoughts to come, because the thoughts live in our minds. There is no other place. Thoughts live in the collective mind. It is their home. Now, whether you bring a good guest to your home or not so good guest to your home, not all guests are welcome. So we need to know where we can draw a boundary. But it can only come when we allow these thoughts to come and rest where they need to rest. Yeah. Then sound sleep is a very important part of the meditation. You know, this is something where I have learned that if you have had a sound sleep, you wake up and you will be able to meditate better. The other premise, the fifth premise of meditation, is that inner critic isn't the best way to back your meditation muscle. You know, so when you meditate and you come out and you're like, shit, you know, I didn't meditate properly, and, you know, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. So avoid judging and criticizing and analyzing how the meditation happened. You know, so this has helped me a lot. And then there is possibility and opportunity for meditation always exist. You know, in your whole day, 24/7, there is opportunity and there is possibility for you to meditate. Okay. So with this, I'm coming to different forms of meditation. As I've already said, free flowing meditation, allow yourself to just sit and tell that I'm just going to allow myself to let the thoughts flow. Because rather than me going with the thoughts here and there, I would rather sit and let the thoughts come to me. You know, it's like I become the well and let it kind of go inside the well.
Fill up. Yes.
Yeah, fill up. Then there is another form of meditation, you know, second form of meditation is the process meditation. When I say process meditation, which means that there is a process that's going to happen within the meditation, which is like the guided meditation that we do. Okay, now this guided meditation can happen from your own voice, or you're listening to somebody external, or you're listening to some guided meditation and you're following the process. Okay, so again, you have an option of whether you want to listen to somebody or what kind of meditation do you want to listen, and when do you want to listen to such meditation. And generally, when you're extremely stressed, you do not want to like be the master of your own meditation. You really want somebody else to guide you. You know, you can just surrender to that voice and you can allow yourself to do the meditation. So any meditation that has a process of beginning and of end is like a process meditation. It's also meditative reading is a process meditation. Auto suggestions are also a process meditation. Then the third one is the creative meditation, where expressive art takes form. Okay, so like form of journaling, creative writing, making music, cooking, composing songs, or staging, or acting, or dancing. You know, anything that can allow you to express. You know, anything that can allow you to make space for your psyche. Okay, so the creative meditation is that particular meditation that first of all allows you, you know, the first stage of it is that it allows you to throw your thoughts out. So whether you're dancing or whether you're cooking or whether you're writing, your first layer, conscious layer of thought goes out. And then the layer, when you are into it completely, when you are into the flow, what comes out of you is your psyche, you know, your inner strength and inner creativity, and your inner you know, body wisdom comes out. And creative meditation is a beautiful meditation, but because it includes both the body, your mind, your soul, and you're actually doing, you know, it's an active form of you know, doing a meditation. Fourth meditation is the mindfulness meditation, which it's all about bringing your action into awareness. So whether I am cooking, whether I am talking, even when I'm talking to somebody, so if someone calls me, okay, so I'm writing and then somebody calls me and I'm still writing and, talking to that person, that's not mindfulness. Okay. It's about being mindful, being totally present to what you're doing. If I'm putting that salt in the pan, in the food, then I need to be mindful. Honestly, I'm not a great cook, but I overdo the salt all the time. But again, it is important to know that I can be mindful anytime, whether I'm sweeping the floor, whether I'm bathing, whether I'm eating. Mindfulness can happen anytime. So that's mindfulness meditation. Then the other form of meditation is very beautiful, and it's a very therapeutic form of meditation called embodiment meditation. Embodiment is really embodying something, So can I embody love? So I want more love in my life. Can I become love? Can I become compassion? Can I become wise? Can I become the wisdom? Can I become sun? Can I become moon? Can I become this piece of, paper? So it's embodying that particular emotion and feeling.
That you might be wanting for yourself.
That you might be wanting for yourself. Yes. That you might be wanting for yourself. At the same time, there are a lot of times that we don't want emotions, like anger, frustration, depression. And being a person who has summer depression, it's very, very difficult sometimes to come out of it, because you're not in the state. You're not in the state to immediately do something. Okay. So one thing I've understood that it's not important to push yourself all the time to meditate because you want to get somewhere. It's also important to give yourself space and time to experience this depression, although it's making you feel you are at the rock bottom. Okay. So whenever I am not able to do anything for myself, what I tell myself is I am giving myself space and I'm giving myself time. And I have space, I have time. Okay. And when I do that, my body just feels all right. I don't have to push myself, to be like immediately like, all right. So embodiment meditation is beautiful. Like what I've started doing is embodying Reiki symbols. Okay. So every night I pick up one symbol and I just embody that symbol. And then what I do is, when you are embodying the meditation, you also know that you're a part of this collective. Okay. So when you embody, you also channel that out. Okay. You also channel that to the world. And also what you could do is you can also bring the entire world in your space and meditate together. Yeah. So sometimes I bring the people who have told me, oh, they are not feeling well and they're not fine. And, this needs help, that needs help. So what I do, I embody this power symbol and then I invite those people in my space and then I meditate together. Then the sixth form of meditation is meditation of devotion. Okay. Which is the remembrance of God and chanting and whatever you're devoted to, so this is also another form of meditation that you can do. And it's not that from this list I am good only in this. We all can practice this according to where we are and what is our state. So remembrance of God and remembrance of whoever you want to remember, it's like the zikr, and you're doing the bandi, you're doing the chanting, you are also singing, part of a satsang. So it's remembering, a remembrance of something beautiful. Meditation of devotion is also not just about remembering God or remembering love or remembering, it's also reminding yourself of the good times. So the remembrance of the positive things. Then the second last one that I have on my list is the breath meditation. okay, which is obviously we all know that we live through our breath. Now, what I basically do is when I'm not able to concentrate on my breath, and when I go here and there, I just tell myself I'm the breath of the universe. Okay. And I imagine that the universe is breathing me and out, you know, the in and out and in and out. And then when I do that, somehow my presence come back to myself, you know. So the breath meditation could be anything that you choose, but the whole idea is to come back to the breath. So even the pain in your leg or pain in your knee or, you know, your emotional pain has breath. Okay. So you need to give that particular pain more oxygen. Okay. Because that particular anger and that particular frustration or that particular area of your body needs more oxygen. So you breathe more oxygen into that. And then last one is a sweet sleep meditation. So I always, before going to sleep, I just tell myself, okay, I'm just dedicating and surrendering and like devoting my sleep also for the higher purpose, you know. So I allow myself with this intention that my sleep becomes, you know, meditative. That ends, you know, the different forms of meditation, but at the same time there are multiple, but this is what, you know, meditation 2.0 is like, you know, all about. Then how to start your meditation?
Sonia, just to recap, so for anybody who's joined now, and see, we discussed this before, but I think now that you're saying it in detail, Sonia, it is so immensely valuable, you know. So you spoke about free flowing, you
Yes.
spoke about guided meditation, you spoke about creative meditation, which is using your particular art form. You spoke about mindfulness, about being present in whatever we are doing in the day, whatever activity it is. As you mentioned, it could be something that are daily chores, it could be cooking, and anything that you are doing, that being present in that job or in that activity is a kind of meditation, right?
Right.
Then you spoke about embodiment.
Right.
You spoke about embodiment, and on that, there has been a question that asked that have you ever tried to embody the sky, the air, fire, water, or the earth? So we had a question. So would you want to answer that?
Yes, and I think it's Charnita that asked the question. So
Yes.
yes, I do that. So I'll give you an example. I'm a very emotional person. If I see someone suffering, I cry. Okay, and I'm very sensitive about it. So which only tells that I'm a person who is like more of a water, you know, and that sometimes is very overwhelming, you know. So instead of helping, I cry, you know. So there are stages like that, and I realize, okay, you know, I need to have more earth energy in my space. So I am constantly trying to be more and more aware about myself, and so then I embody earth. You know, I try to put my feet on the ground and I do the grounding meditation. So and sometimes when I'm too rigid about something and too stubborn about something, and something is on my mind for a longer time, then I try to, you know, embody water. Just like yesterday was a bit chaotic at certain points. So I just sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to embody lake, because lake is very peaceful and the water is like serene. And so then, you know, embody that. So yes, when
I just want to ask Sonia that when you mean embodying, which means that you think about that element, and you are thinking that you are part of that element. Am I right?
you
So
could
you
say
are
that
absorbing the qualities of that element.
yes.
Is
So
that...
it's yes, and at some point you are that element. You know, you become that element, like you feel that element, you know. So it's almost like getting into much further. It's like, you know, everything has a morphic field. Okay. And everything has an energy. So a lake has an energy, river has an energy, my pillow has an energy. So when I just, you know, bring that particular element in my space, somewhere I become that. you know, somewhere it gives me a chance to become that. Yeah. So it's almost also like, you know, a shared personality disorder. It's like, you know, there is something called as is shared delusional disorder. Okay. It's if a person that you live with has delusion, constant delusion, and you're living with that person, no doubt at some point you will start feeling you start having the same delusion yourself, and you start so all of us have this we're all connected, we're all interconnected, and we all pick from each other's space. So so embodying, as you said, is a, you know, you become a part of that, but at the same time it is also, you become that, you become love, you become that energy of love, you know. It's also like, you know, when you are a director and you're looking from the lens of the camera, you forget yourself, you just become what is happening, what you're seeing through the lens of the camera, you know. So it's like, you know, you're directing, you're going behind the camera and you're looking at what you're being present to what is happening.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And about the breath meditation, if you would just kind of, you know, explain that further, because I think that's very, very valuable. And I feel that I use it a lot, you know, that as you said, that breathing into spaces that need more oxygen, or breathing into your emotions, or breathing into any part of your body that is maybe not feeling right. I have personally tried it a lot and really helps. So if you would just kind of elaborate a little more on that.
Right. So I believe the breath is right now the only thing that is truth, you know. And you know, when we are confronted with, when you're hit with a realization of truth, something that you realize in your head, you have this, you know, there's a moment of sigh that your breath agrees to it, you know. So your breath is your compass. Okay. And there are different forms of breath meditation. So one is Vipassana. We all know that, you know, Vipassana is all about focusing on your breath beneath your nose, and then, you know, seeing the flow of the breath, you know, from your entire body. Then there is this another form of meditation that is a part of my another, you know, next new book that I'm writing, and it's called Intersection of Breath. Okay. So I was just thinking in my mind, if I had to give a shape to breath, okay, like how breath is. And I realized breath is everywhere, and breath is all intersected, you know, it's an intersection. And so imagine that there is a plus sign, you know, it's a breath going in and out, you know, vertically and horizontally, because it's going, you know, far. So now what I have started doing is to really see this cross right in front of my nose, and just breathe. And I realized that the interconnection of that breath is so strong and so powerful that it hits your mind, you know, like you come back to more present. And whenever I'm sitting for the breath meditation, it's not like I decide, okay, chalo, now let's do breath meditation. It's a part of your everyday thing. Especially when you are on Facebook and you're reading a news, and then you're in such a good mood, and you read something really bad, and that bad could not be even true. Okay. But your mind is now gone into the fear and into anxiety. That is the moment I really come back to my breath. I really breathe. I really take, you know, big breaths. Also, one interesting thing that my friend just said, that, you know, anxiety and fear doesn't come to kill you. It really protects you.
Oh.
So, yes. And that particular conversation that I had with her, it really changed the way I started looking at anxiety and fear. So even when I'm feeling anxiety and fear, somewhere in back of my mind, I am reminded that, okay, it has not come to kill me. It's just come to protect me right now, because our body and our mind our nature is that it's a flight or fight response. It's so natural to feel the fear and anxiety. You know, now it's not necessary we do something immediately. Not always that, we are in a state to do something immediately. But when we are at a neutral stage, when we are in a good place, we can actually sit with ourselves and we can tell, okay, now next time when I go through this, when I hear something like this, and I know that I cry, I'm going to allow myself to cry. So it's the self-talk that we do post, the situation. And we all know our own selves for so many years now. We all know how we react to things and how, we respond to things. And there are certain things that, you know what works for yourself. So for me, what works is I do journaling every single day. I do writing meditation every single day. That is something that I know that just brings me back to who I am. Then if I don't want to write, I know that just doing the guided meditation will help me. Just sitting in silence will help me. If that doesn't work, I know I need to call a therapist friend or a healer friend and tell me, please do healing for me. One interesting thing that I found out is what has helped me is like, I'll call a friend and say, please, can you tell me some good things about myself right now? And then they start saying good things. And this is very therapeutic for me, because I realize that my mind has gone into so much criticism and so much anger that I need to listen to something really good and new. Okay. So it's like you are in pain for like 100 days and your mind has adapted to be in pain and to be in anxiety. So it needs a small pill to realize that, okay, you can be painless. Your mind needs to know that, okay, there is another possibility that is also there. Sorry, to come back to the breath meditation that you were...
No, that's all right. So to just what you said, that, self-affirmation.
Yeah.
And also, this is the time that, as you said, that, to be kind to ourselves.
Yes.
To remember the good qualities, remember, whatever the strengths that we have, probably more than ever. Now is the time to kind of mull over them, nurture that.
Right.
And just to get into a positive frame of mind.
Correct. Yes. Right. So, that actually brings me to, there are a lot of people who ask me, how do you start a meditation, and, how do you end a meditation? How do you know that your meditation has ended? Okay. So, first of all, when I sit for meditation, I just don't sit, I invite my whole body, my spirit, my soul, and my mind that come, let's do this together. Because your meditation is not just happening in your mind. You don't meditate through your mind, only in your mind. You are meditating through your whole body in the space. Okay, so when you're meditating, you're a part of the space. So you invite your entire existence to meditate. Yeah. When you do that, you're more present. Then your intention. Okay, so there are three things when you start meditating: is your invitation, your intention, and your expectation. So one is that do not expect. Okay, because expectation is a part of the mind. It's a job of the mind. Okay, and not that it's bad. Okay, mind is the only place where this entire universe is existing for us. So it's important to understand that when you're meditating, something beyond can happen, and our expectation can be just little possibility. So don't expect. Then ending the meditation. Okay, so there was a question that, okay, I can sit for 10 minutes and then after 10 minutes I'm done. But then what if you want to go beyond 10 minutes? It's not like time bound. Of course, there are certain meditations you do time bound. So I will give a very small example. Okay, so I was filling up water in the bottle today, and it's like an anecdote. Okay, so when the bottle is empty and the water is filling the bottle from the tap, the sound of the water is very different. Okay, so even if you are away, when the bottle is empty and when the water goes in, the sound is different. When it comes to a level, the sound is different. And even if you're not looking at the water, you know that it's filled up because of the sound. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
So it
So
is
beautiful.
meditation. So meditation is like that. You would know when it is filling up and when it is your, end.
So
And as and
for
when,
individuals, it can differ, right? Because they're
yes,
nature,
yes,
you know that how much time we need to meditate. So it actually depends on what is how much individually it can differ, right?
correct. Yes. So it is individually, it differs. And again, coming back to the point that you know yourself better and you know yourself for so many years. So you know how, where do you get stuck, and what do you do when you get stuck, uh, to ask yourself, when to inquire when you are stuck is not the right time to inquire. When you are in a good state of mind, that what makes you stuck and what can help you to come out of this, stuck state. So we need to utilize the neutral time, we need to utilize the good time. Okay. So also, when I'm really happy, what I do is, I really pray for everyone. Like when I'm, say, uh, extremely, like, happy, and there's no reason, but that is the moment when you can actually pray for others. So this is also one way of looking at things. Then uh, then so people also ask, okay, then what after meditation, what happens? So when I come out of the meditation, I tell myself, okay, I am going into another state altogether, but my meditation will continue in another dimension. So when I'm going to sleep, so it's like bringing yourself that the meditation is happening, and it's a constant talk with yourself, that okay, even though my meditation is done and my bottle is filled, I'll continue to be in this state, and something inside me will continue to be in this state. And then the last thing again is, what I want to share is, uh, like, why do you want to meditate? Is also a question. And to me, again, I want to give this beautiful analogy that, suppose you are sleeping next to your loved ones, okay, and your loved one is sleeping very quietly and silently and beautifully, and you wake up in the middle of the night, and you just give her one kiss, okay, or him one kiss, very gently. Now you know that that kiss is not going to wake her up or shake her up, or maybe she will not even come to know, but you do it because you want to bring that love, when nobody is looking at you. And I think meditation is like that. You do it for yourself. You don't do it whether there is a response from the universe or not. Universe may be in a deep sleep, but you need to express. And I think the way you can express your existence to the universe, which is so infinite, which is ever growing, ever evolving, and one life may be not enough for us to know it, but you can express that love, through meditation. So this is what I had to share today. And yeah.
No, Sonia, it was so, so valuable. And I just hope that, everybody who's watching, and post that we will share it. You can tell your team also that, you just come back to this, so that everybody today at this point of time is facing a lot of emotional crisis, and emotional management is important. And I'm sure for all the 8 ways that you suggested in, I'm sure somebody will be able to pick up one or either of them,
Yeah.
and that will probably help them, just pass this time, and not why only this time, the rest of their lives, to find them their self, to find, to connect with their own individual, in.
Right.
I think that it's beautiful. And
Thank you so much.
thank you, Sonia. And you're so, meet you. It's so calm and composed. And I know where all that is coming from. I know that's just not kind of just happened overnight. Thank you so much for sharing. And
Thank you.
stay happy.
Thank you.
And of course, let's just take 1 minute to ask if anybody has any questions for Sonia, if you wish to. And also, Artscape is doing these conversations every Wednesday and Friday. You're all most welcome to join, because these are conversations I feel that is going to help everybody, in their own ways. People can pick up tips from here and use them in their life's journey.
Right.
So everybody saying thank you.
I think there is one question of how much and when is an ideal time to meditate. So
Yes.
I think how much, I think I already answered with that water example. And when is an ideal time to meditate is to not meditate when you're angry, to not meditate when you are in a state of flusk. Okay, then choose what you want. I would rather say that that is a time when you can just do your breathing and you figure out, any time could be ideal, but when you are in this extreme of emotion, don't try to still yourself, because that really pushing your body and your mind against what it wants to naturally feel. Okay, so I can say that the best time for me to meditate is the morning time, waking up at 4 or 3 or 5. If you can't, you be disciplined. Okay, this is the time I want to meditate every day. So if you're a beginner, schedule your time. If you are like really wanting to explore, then just in the day decide that today is in the evening, I have so much time and I will meditate then. Also try to experiment with different kind of meditation, and you will realize that some meditation are more creative. There are times when you actually create something out of the chaos. So if you're a writer, if you are a painter, if you are an artist, it's the best time to use this energy and create something.
Correct.
Yes. So yeah, I think anybody else, I think that's sometimes slow and deep breathing comes naturally, and at other times it's a lot effort to do abdominal breathing. It's a very good question. When there is an abdominal, it's difficult to do abdominal breathing. Your body is only telling you don't do that. Okay, don't force. That's what the whole idea of meditation is. Not to push yourself into the direction. Your body is your first guide, your first compass. Your compass is also your breath. So even in that point of view, knowing that, so here we are expecting that if I do abdominal breathing, I'll feel better. No, it's not like that, because what is going on is your mind, and you need your mind to do the meditation. Okay, so first is to bring yourself to neutral state. Okay, so talk to a friend or read something or listen to music or just watch something. And this is not distraction. This is alternative way of helping yourself. Yeah. So, and then try doing the deep breathing. I think that's it for now. Yeah.
One last question, Sonia. How can you keep concentration intact while meditating and not be distracted?
Okay, so meditation is definitely not about concentration. If you are saying concentration, then you really have something external that you want to concentrate on. Then that becomes a process meditation. It's a different form of meditation. So you decide in such form of meditation, you can decide, okay, I'm going to concentrate on this for 5 minutes. Okay. And in the beginning, I have already said about the free flow meditation. There is never a distraction in meditation. The thoughts, I believe, the thoughts don't come to distract you. They just come to find their place. So rather than making an effort and, action to throw them out, what you can do is, okay, just tell yourself, I'm a well, and let this, let this thought rest. And each thought has a sound. So when you allow this thought to rest, their sound will also decrease, and you realize that you are coming back to the present moment.
So basically to accept these thoughts as they come.
Yes.
Accept them and acknowledge them, and maybe then let go, however the journey is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sonia, one more time, and we shall connect offline.
Done. Thank you, everybody, for being there. And if there is any question about it, please, you can always inbox me. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Komalika.
No, thank you, Sonia. And thank you all for listening from Artscape as well. And yes, we will, there is a friend who would ask that, yes, we will post it. You will find this on our Instagram page. So you can go back to it. And then, of course, Sonia will be available on her page to answer any questions if you may have. See you then. Okay. Have a good evening, everybody. And do use these tips that Sonia gave. Will help you in this state of anxiety, fear, sleeplessness, whatever that's coming up. Thank you. Bye. Good evening.